Welcome to the Dawson Creek podcast. Not with our special guest, Stan Fraser. Now, onto the show.
You don't have to hold my hand, it's okay.
But I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I'm nervous.
Hello and welcome to the Not Dawson's Creek podcast, a show where we highlight and interview your regular yet extraordinary Dawson Creek citizens. Today we have the extraordinary pleasure of interviewing one of Dawson's Indigenous elders and one of the brightest spots in our community. Please welcome our guest. And Stan Fraser, is it Dawson Creek or Dawson's Creek?
Dawson's.
What?
Dawson Creek.
Have you heard that a lot in your time here?
Yes, I have.
Wow, that's unfortunate. I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's just one of those things that just whatever the crowd goes with, a lot of people follow suit. And
Yeah. Like yourself at the beginning. You went
Yep.
with Dawson's. You just gave up.
I just give up. It's better just to say Creek.
Well, we've given up. Have you seen our work? Anyway, back to you. As I said, you're one of the brightest spots in our community, and I truly mean that. You've done so much here, and we want to kind of learn more about you and who you are as a person. And so, were you born and raised in the Peace, Stan?
No, I wasn't. I'm originally from Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hold that against me.
We will.
Yeah, I was born and raised in northern Saskatchewan on a small town named of Shell Lake, and I'm Indigenous from Mistawassis First Nations. And I traveled and worked throughout Alberta and BC over my years, and the last 20 years I settled in at Chetwynd, and then for some reason there was a calling for me to come to Dawson Creek, and I was only supposed to stay here for a year, and here I am going on my second year, so I guess there's something here for me.
What do you think that thing is?
For me, I like to think it is bringing awareness and educating people about the truth about culture, and not a myth, not what people think, but the actual culture. It is a beautiful, vibrant culture that we come from, and so far some of the misconceptions about Indigenous people is because of some of the things that aren't being taught properly, and is just somebody else's view rather than a view from an Indigenous person.
Right. And that's really important. Make it authentic and make sure everyone understands. Yeah. And so you're from this small town, and you're working all throughout BC and Alberta. How did you end up in Chetwynd?
That's it's a real good question.
I think everyone in Chetwynd asks that question.
I was working in the oil patch in Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
And had an acreage outside of Grand Prairie, and then it was time, like I chased the oil patch all the way from the Arctic all the way down to southern Alberta and stuff like that, and I kind of wanted to be home more, and I was married at the time, and my ex then landed a job in Soto First Nation. So we sold the property and moved to Chetwynd, and I wasn't supposed to stay. Once again, I'm not supposed to stay these places, but I ended up doing so. And then we ended up buying a place there, and I applied for the highways, for to look after the highways for CRS.
Yeah.
And then I applied at different mines back then, and the mines were going, and didn't apply. And finally, the highways got a hold of me, the CRS got a hold of me and said, "When can you start?" And I said, "Monday." So I've been there for 20 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. Do you enjoy that type of work with CRS?
I did.
Yeah.
It was very challenging. It was one of those jobs where just about every day you want to work with something different, something new. The highways, dealing with the highways and dealing with the public is a challenging feat within itself.
Yeah.
You never do anything right.
Yeah.
And you're always wrong, and you don't know what the heck you're doing, and all that other stuff. And,
Especially on social media.
yeah, and you just kind of wave and say hi, hello, how are you, and have a good day, and yeah, you learn how to deal with different things.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, you're pretty integral to the community here. Not only working with Nawican, but other work that you do, and you working with CRS and dealing with the public. Do you find that that's kind of like not so much a passion, but something that you're kind of drawn to, is dealing with the public and talking to them and really engaging with the community? Do you feel like that's kind of something you're interested in?
Yes, it's been a calling of mine for the longest time, and to be able to work with not only like the public, but also within our different education systems, like our school district 59. I work with them with our Northern Lights College. I work with them on various projects and try to bring our community together in a more positive way, and to learn what is the truth about the culture within our Treaty 8 area. And Treaty 8 has been a very, very open to me and very inviting, that I'm able to live here on Treaty 8 and enjoy the different jobs and the different fun things of hiking and camping and all those other things that go along with living in such a great place.
Yeah, yeah. And it really is a beautiful place. It really is. And with that, another passion of yours, of course, is mental health and addiction advocacy. And so that's quite a passion for yours. Is that correct?
Yeah, it always has. I was addicted and to alcohol and to drugs back in the day. I was in Vancouver on Skid Row. I slept underneath bridges and in culverts all the way from Vancouver to Prince Albert, Saskatoon, Regina, Medicine Hat, Calgary, Edmonton. I hitchhiked a lot, and because of some of the things that was traumatizing to me when I was a young lad growing up, dealing with our education system and stuff like that. So it became a real battleground for me back then. And mental health has been learning, once I got a handle on my addictions and started to heal and started to understand of where and how drugs and alcohol played in my life, that I was able to understand and to help others. And mental health became a big part of me, because back in '90, I had a severe industrial accident. And I was in a coma, and my daughter got a hold of it. I went into resuscitation twice, and they said there wasn't going to be a third time. So the call went out to my family to get prepared. And when my daughter heard about it, because my dad picked up the phone, she went crying into the bedroom and yelling, "Not my dad." And from that, she was age 10. And from then on, she started developing anxiety and depression. And it was then, I didn't know how to deal with it. But it was only years later that we came together and we started to talk about what really happened and how it really affected her and affected me in so many ways that we decided to do a walk about it. And it was only years and years into planning and trying to understand one another about this anxiety and depression, what it's all about. It's not a simple thing. It's not something that you can think positive thoughts and it goes away, or you can think this and it doesn't happen. You never know when it's going to strike or what is going to, I guess, bring it up, aggravate it, whatever you want to call it. So I started developing ways of how can I help our communities to understand depression and anxiety, especially towards men. Because men, I felt like we're still back in the ice age where me strong like bull and smart like tractor. And I started thinking about how can I bring men forward to start dealing about that. And that's when we decided, me and my daughter, we decided to develop a walk which was called Walk and Talk the Peace. And in 2016, it's when I did my first walk to deal with this. And I walked from Chetwynd to Hudson Hope to Fort St. John to Dawson and then back to Chetwynd.
Wow.
And I did it all alone. I was all alone. I didn't have support from nobody. I did with a backpack on my back, slept in ditches overnight, which kind of brought me back to my old days when sleeping under. But anyways, that kind of helped me out. And then people started reaching out to me about why I'm doing this. And so the next year I did another walk, and I did a walk from, I was supposed to walk from Chetwynd to Calgary because I was going to walk to my daughter. And around Fox Creek, I was going into, because it was hot, this was in July, I was going to walk into the ditch where it was a little cooler. And when I was going into the ditch, I sprained my ankle. And I had to end that walk. So I got all healed up and thought, well, this is not going to be over with. A lot of people reached out to me and said, when are you going to do it again? So in 2018, 2019, I did different walks around the Peace region. Then in 20, I did a walk from Fort Nelson to Chetwynd. Then I started to receive a lot of response with a lot of people asking me about depression and how do I deal with it and how do I identify with it and what kind of advice do I give other people. And it was just question after question, and people were stopping me on the road and they were walking with me. And it took me 3 weeks to walk, better than 3 weeks, to walk from Fort Nelson to Chetwynd. But then I did have help. I did have a shadow that followed me in a vehicle, and we camped in a trailer overnight. And so that kind of brought a lot of things forward. Fort Nelson gave me a tremendous send-off. There was a lot of people there in Fort Nelson First Nations welcomed me into their nation, and I did a big talk there about mental health and about the stigma associated with it. And then different places, RCMP walked with me. They got involved. I'm about the only one that kind of reminded me back in my younger days, but I had two of them escort me into Chetwynd, and I wasn't in handcuffs, so that was a good thing.
It was a nice change of pace.
That was a nice feeling. So I knew that I made progress. But yeah, they supported me really, really good, and
That's great.
We had a lot of talk, and it's amazing how many people don't realize that how depression we stuff it way inside, and we don't totally understand it because we're ashamed of it.
Yeah.
And then once that got over with, I was asked to talk in a lot of different functions, and then in 2020, I thought, well, I'm gonna do another walk, because my goal was to walk across Canada. I heard a lot of things, and I'd never been all the way across Canada.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe that it might be a good thing. So I started training, and I trained all winter for about 6 months, very rigorous training and stuff like that. Then where was I going to start? So I thought maybe I'll start from Vancouver, because I knew I was going to be from the West Coast. I wanted to go to coast.
Right.
Then I thought, no, there's a lot of people there, and I'm not too sure if I want to deal with all that traffic and all that people. So I thought, well, maybe Rupert. So I thought, no, because Rupert is well known for the Highway of Tears.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to interfere in that. So what other place could I go from that hasn't had the exposure or hasn't had that, and I could make new alliances, I guess, with mental health. So I chose Bella Coola.
Yeah.
And so we drove down to Bella Coola, and I got different things happened there, and then I got on the radio, and it was broadcast throughout the West Coast, and started out the next day. I was going to start my walk, and the high school, all of the high school in Bella Coola come and walked with me.
Oh, that's so cool.
And but prior to that, I had the elders say a prayer for me, and they were drumming for me and encouraging me. But all this time, going through my mind is that, what is wrong with you? People within the right mind don't just up and all of a sudden decide to walk halfway or across Canada.
Yeah.
For what? And how can I get to there? And a lot of these doubts came into my mind, and probably that night I didn't sleep, and I just about didn't do it because I didn't feel like I could, and I didn't want to be able to start it and not finish it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I started to think about it, and then that morning before I walked and the prayers were said to me, I thought, well, the only way I can get to point A to point B, and maybe I can only go halfways across Canada, and that would be all right. At least I gave it an effort, and I started out, and this thought came to me, one step at a time. And when I took that first step, then I realized I was one step closer to my destination. And sometimes that's the way it is with mental health. You just got to make that first step to try and better yourself, to try and reach out. Even sometimes getting up in the morning is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But just to get up and to make that first step towards either having a shower or getting dressed or whatever, it's those simple things a lot of times that people don't realize that it's a big struggle for people that are under, I guess, suffering with depression.
And I've heard like people that are, climbing mountains, they never look at the peak, or they never look at their destination, because they always just look down at where they're going, because it's easier to just mentally to just like take it step by step, brick by brick, right? And mental health is the same, right?
Absolutely. And one province that taught me that was Saskatchewan. Because there you could see a town 3 days away and still not be there. And sometimes 3 days along my home province, and that's the same town I seen yesterday. But it's those things that you learn to do one step at a time and one day at a time. All those things are very, very important when you're dealing with depression.
Yeah.
And So that's how I started out in Bella Coola. And I had tremendous support throughout. People walked with me. People from Chetwynd came all the way to 100 Mile House and walked 40 kilometers with me. And RCMP members all over walked with me, and different people in the community walked with me. And it was just like, wow, a falling down, drunken alcoholic. And there's these people that want to be a part of me before they ran away from me. So that was kind of a pride within itself. Then we got close to Winnipeg, and when we got to Winnipeg, I'm jumping ahead. About Saskatoon, throughout the walk, I started to notice I'm developing problems with my hips.
Yeah.
So I shut it down for about a week and tried to heal. And this was in Hinton. So I shut it down for a week, and then I continued on to Edmonton. And then Edmonton, I started developing again. So I had to start taking it easy, and then I went from Edmonton to Saskatoon.
Yeah.
And the pain was getting so bad that I had to really consider, do I really want to go on, push myself to the limits? And it was then about the third day we were in Saskatoon, I made a decision, and it was a heart to cancel. And I hummed and heed and hawed, and I was very down on myself. I was very disappointed that I couldn't make it, and I let a lot of people down, and myself, and so I just thought, what do I do now? I was kind of ashamed, embarrassed. I was going to be this one individual that was going to do this all the way, didn't do it.
Right.
So I thought, well, we will continue on to Winnipeg, because there's a project out there. It's called Project 11. And they really supported me. And that Project 11 is in the school systems. And they deal with a lot of children, right from grade 1 all the way through to grade 12, that deal with depression and anxiety. So it was quite inspiring to latch onto them, because they talked to me and they said what I did was something that there's no reason to be ashamed of, but to be proud of myself.
Yeah.
Of what I did. Because I went, at that time at Saskatoon was 1,800 kilometers I walked. So we got involved with them, and they asked us to come to Winnipeg. And they met us with Winnipeg. I don't know if you guys are aware of what Project 11 is.
No.
But it was developed by 2 hockey players, NHL hockey players.
Yeah.
And they were from Vancouver getting transferred to Winnipeg. And they started this group, or this thing with the kids over there, to deal with or to help out with depression and anxiety, because some of them, even in that kind of profession, was dealing with that and suicidal.
Right.
So they started it, and then one individual, and I was trying to think of his name, and I forget his name, and I'm sorry for that, but
It's okay.
he didn't make it. But the other one, he kept the project on, and what I mean didn't make it, he decided to end his life. So the other one kept on, and that's how Project 11 was made, because his number was 11.
Oh.
And they invited me, and they brought me into Winnipeg. I walked with the Winnipeg Jets trainer. I thought I was in good shape until he took an hour's work on me, and the next day I could hardly move and walk, and I was just like, man, I thought I was in good shape. But he proved me wrong, and we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs.
That's great.
Toured the Winnipeg Blue Bombers' new stadium. I walked into the stadium. It was a very welcome time. They put me up in the fanciest suite there was, and I felt like I was, for once in my life, I was like a king or a prince, and it was just like, wow, I did not know that a falling down drunk on Skid Row could be treated with such honor or such pride, and people look up to you.
How did that feel did you ever sit back and truly think about your journey from where you started and coming into this place to Winnipeg, almost feeling like royalty, and how you're treated? Did you ever sit back and think about that journey and how that felt?
Oh yeah, a lot of times, and even when I talk about it, I can get emotional about it, because it was a time when I figured I couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And to be able to accomplish what I did, and to be able to have reached people with such kindness and that didn't know me, treat me so well.
Right.
And to be able to walk into those stadiums, and to be able to meet with the trainers, and to be able to train the same places that the Jets had trained and stuff like that, it was just like, wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. So that really inspired me, and like I say, I get in those, during that time, that really helped me to overcome my disappointment about not be able to make it.
Right.
And how they said, yeah, you made it as far as you're supposed to make it.
Wow.
And you did good. You reached thousands of people. I still get people today saying, oh, you're the guy that did this walk for mental health. Well, how did you know? I was watching you. I was following your journey.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that's something.
That's something. That's something you'll be remembered for.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 So once we done that, once we were finished there, and we started coming back to Chetwynd, there was just a lot of emotions, different things, and I just wanted to get back. Being on the road so long, I just wanted to get home.
Yeah.
Then we got into Chetwynd, and they threw this big bash for me.
That's so great.
And I didn't even know it was.
It was a surprise.
It was coming. Like, I had no idea. They broadsided me, and
Wow.
yeah, the mayor and everybody walked with me, and RCMP escorted me into town, and I was just like, wow.
Wow.
So I know how people need to feel. They need to feel that sense of accomplishment, even though we ourselves like to think that we are defeated. We like to think that we could have done better, rather than focus on what we did, and we did the best what we could at that time.
Right.
The walking across Canada is still on the table.
Yeah.
I haven't taken it off yet, and hopefully, maybe in the near future, I can
Give it another
go through another 10 pair of shoes, and we can go across Canada. So yeah, but for mental health and for the stigma that goes along with it, mm-hmm. runs deep in me.
Yeah.
And I really, really feel that I need to really bring this out to our community. There's big improvements, mm-hmm. and I've heard anything from, well, COVID did this and COVID did that. This was mm-hmm. long before COVID even happened. We were having mental issues and struggles long before COVID happened. Before COVID, the only thing I believe COVID did was brought it out to the forefront.
Yeah.
before we had that ostrich effect, where we stuck our head in the sand and hoped the heck it'd go away.
Yeah.
And that proved fatal
Yeah.
to a lot of people.
Yeah.
To shame people, to make people feel that they're less than because they didn't make it. And I don't care if you're rich, poor, or otherwise. When you have a mental health issue, it's going to affect you ways that you never thought it'd be possible.
Yeah. Do you think that's the main part of, especially when it comes to men's mental illness struggles, is the stigma surrounding it? Do you think that's the main barrier to that?
Yes, absolutely. Men, we got to stop thinking that we are this strong individual, that stuff like this doesn't affect us. We got to stop thinking that we are the leaders in all sorts of things. We got to start looking towards our counterparts, our female, our wives, our sisters, our nieces, whatever it takes. We are in it. We are in this together. We're not alone. But the stigma of men showing their emotions is a sign of, back in the old days, that you're weak.
Right.
And that is so far from the truth that in order to be able to cry and to show emotions, it takes a lot of strength to do that, and a lot of I guess hits you right in the heart.
Yeah.
And to be able to cry, when I was in Saskatoon, to be able to cry and say, I can't do it, was hard.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first times that I was able to do that and not feel like I'm a less of a man.
Right.
It was a healing thing for me. It was a place where I could say, okay, I gave it my best.
Right.
And that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a part of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Then I come to back home, and I was going to retire because I was working with the looking after the highways, and so I did retire, and because I was on the road, so I said, okay, it's time for me to pack her and take life easy and enjoy a few things.
Yeah.
So I retired, and it was about a month. I retired, and I said, "The hell with this noise."
I'll bleep you.
But anyways, I said, no, I can't retire. So I came here to Dawson. I got a phone call, and there was an individual who knew that I talked a lot about mental health in men's sickness and culture. So I came here to Dawson to this Nawican Youth Cultural Centre, and I gave a talk to a bunch of the kids right in this room that we're in now. And this was on a Thursday, and that following Friday, I got a phone call from the director here and says, how would you like to have a full-time job?
Wow.
So I said, can I think about it? And she says, yeah. And she asked me again. And I says, I'll let you know Monday. So I phoned her Monday, and I says, okay, when do you want me there? She says, by this afternoon. So it was like, wow. Like when things were made to happen, it just happened. Like I was retiring, I was moving out of province.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was moving down.
You were done.
And somehow I ended up here in Dawson, and somehow I ended up in front of all these cameras and telling my story and all this, and like, what is going on?
Sitting across from two doofuses. It's funny how life works.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love it, and I've met a lot of very interesting people, a lot of people that care a lot for their community, and how we can work together and how we can build our community for a stronger, better community in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very happy and very, very proud to say that I would like to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And to be able to look into the future and say, yeah, this is where I think we should go, and this is where I think we should be. And that's where I am at now, and just trying to work with all these different agencies and bring us together and to go on and to work together as we're supposed to be as a community. That's what communities do. And coming from an Aboriginal background, for us that was a part of life, is sharing and caring. And that's something that we did when another community or another place was out or suffering or something. We helped them out the best way we could. And it might have been, giving them some meat or giving them something very, what we think is very simple today.
Yeah.
But back then it meant a lot. And that's what I'd like to get back to, is that caring about individual. I don't care where you come from on the streets, or you come from some big high gas and oil industry. We're all human beings, and we all need to work together, and we don't need to look down on one another or to put one another down. Trust me, we do that enough ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't need other people to do it for us.
No.
So that's where I am today, is to try and help out, and like I say, to say the interesting people that I have met is just, I can't express that enough, because even looking at across the room and meeting you guys and about a year ago.
Yeah.
And, to be able to say, you know what, I was a part of that. I was a part of this. I was a part of that, even as little as I can. And maybe sometimes in the near future, you guys will be able to follow me across Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to. You would have to give me a piggyback ride.
I would follow you to the ends of the earth.
Yes. Yes, that's very well put.
And he would get a
You guys
piggyback
gonna
ride.
make me cry.
I say something stupid and Ryan says something so earnest and sweet. That's kind of how this
That's
works.
just what you guys are. Like,
Stupid and
sour,
sweet.
sour and sweet.
Thank you very much. And so, talking a bit more about your work here at Nawican and what you've done for the community, do you have something that you're the most proud of that you've done while working for Nawican, or something you've done for the community here in Dawson?
Just to be able to wake up and knowing that you're going to go to a community that is depending on you, has that trust in you, has that I don't know what it is. I guess a family-orientated thing. I'm not alone. There's a lot of people here that we work well together.
Yeah.
And just to be able to be a part of that makes me proud that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And for many years, my tunnel seemed like to be endless darkness. And now there's starting to be, yes, we are starting to see that thing, and to be a part of that, I'm very, very honored to be a part of this organization and what we see in the future of bringing things together. It is a real blessing.
Yeah. It's purpose, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Purpose and family. And speaking of, purpose and family, I was reading something about you, I think it was on CJDC, and you were talking about, your time living on the street and whatnot, and you were saying that there was a point where you wanted to get out of that and you wanted some help, and it was, I believe, your Indigenous culture that kind of helped you out of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess I was a part of being as a young individual, to give you a kind of a background on that, is that I was not treated nicely in school. I was tortured by some of the people in school, some of the authorities. And when I went to school, grade 1, I learned I did not want to be Indigenous because of all the stigma and because of all of the hatred towards it, because I had brown skin. I did not want to be Native whatsoever. Then I also learned during that time is that I did not want to be in school. I did not want to be educated. Because if this is what education is, I don't want no part of it. And I got to hate education. And I got to hate, and I use hate because I did. It's not a very good word, but I did. Singing "O Canada" and "God Save the Queen." I hated that because that's when the torture would start after those that were sung in the morning.
Right.
So I skipped school and I ran away from school as much as I could. I went to I think I got my grade 6, but I think in grade 8 when I decided this is it. And that's when I hit the road and I discovered alcohol and went down that road of drinking and drugs and in and out of trouble with the law.
Yeah.
And then that happened for quite a number of years. Then I had a daughter, which is the one I just talked about. And I come home drunk one evening. And I wanted to pick her up. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to say, "I love you." And I fell down on top of her, and I just about smothered her to death. And if it wasn't for my ex at the time to pull me off, I think I would have killed her. So the next morning I was told about it because I lived in a blackout for a lot of times when I drank. So that time in the morning, this was on a Sunday morning, and I was so sick. I was so down and out. I didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
So I went outside. I threw myself on the ground. And I says, if there's anything out there, I need help. I didn't know what it is because I didn't believe in Christianity whatsoever.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in spirituality. I didn't believe in nothing. The only thing I believed in was I was able to get drunk in the bottle, help relieve some of that hurt. So nothing happened. I thought, whatever's out there, I thought he'd come down and slap me with the side of the head and say, "Smarten up," or give me a bolt of lightning and jolt me back to life. Nothing happened. So it's about 3 months later.
Yeah.
I woke up on a Sunday morning and I told my partner then, I says, there's 3 things that I need to do. There's 3 things that I need to make. And like I say, I did not believe in my culture. I did not believe in any kind of spirituality. And one was a drum. The other one was a sweat lodge. And the other one was a pipe. It took me a few years to make a drum. And within the Native culture, a drum represents our Mother Earth. And a drum is something that we all heard, all of us that walk today on 2 feet. We all heard the beat of our mother's heart, and that's what a drum represents. The heartbeat of our mother.
Right.
So I started learning about all this, about our culture, about my culture. Then the other thing was to make a sweat lodge. I did not know how or what to do in a sweat lodge. I had no idea, but I had some inkling of somebody was telling me about how to make it with willows and blankets, and you need rocks to go inside. So I did all these things, and I was down in Tabor, Alberta, on a flat, bald-headed prairie, and I decided to make my sweat lodge, and I went out to grab to get the willows to make it, and it was along the river, the Old Man River, it was called. And when I went to those willows to cut for the sweat lodge that I was going to make, there was some rattlesnakes there. So I said, okay. I walked away and I started going to go get some other kind of willows. And then just like something put the hands on my back, or just like there was a pressure that turned me around to face those snakes. And I would have to wonder why, what is going on, what is happening. So I went and walked towards those willows, and the snakes just went away. So I got those willows. There was 13 of them. And I learned later on in life, asking questions about what that meant or what that represented with a lot of elders. And they all said that is life. It doesn't matter what you do in life, there's always will be somebody who will try and mislead you or try to steer you away from what is the best, what you're supposed to do. So I got to experience that summer, then was to make a pipe. And it took me roughly 15 to 17 years to make a pipe.
Really?
And one of the reasons why it took me that long is that in culture, in the real traditional way, is that to carry or to hold a pipe, your life is supposed to be like that stem. It's supposed to be nice and straight and solid. And that fire that burns in that bowl is the fire that burns within you. So I had to learn all that for 15 years. So I got all three of them, and then I started living my culture the best way that I knew how. I sought a lot of advice from different elders from all the way from the Yukon all the way down into Montana and places like that. I sweat with all different kinds of different tribes, and they're all pretty much the same, is that we are all here to try and live the best life we can. But sometimes it is very, very difficult. And sometimes a lot of people don't understand, and they try to mislead you and misguide you. And that is the reason why I'm here today, is to try and teach that to our younger generation, the beauty of Native culture and the pride that you should take in it. And there is a lot of education there, how to be able to survive in this world that we're living in today. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm trying to do here in this, at the Nawican Centre, and working with different people, is trying to bring that to the forefront and to make people, especially Indigenous people, to be proud of who they are, what they are, and where they came from. So yeah, so that's what my destiny is.
And how does it feel to go from, not wanting to embrace it because of stigmas and stereotypes and prejudice, to now spreading the concept of self-acceptance and loving your culture? How does it feel to be able to provide that right now, and for your destiny to allow young people to embrace their culture?
I don't think there's a feeling that can describe it. There's times I lay awake at night thinking of the lives that I have touched, thinking about the people that have touched my life. I'm still in the process of learning a lot of different things as well as teaching. I'm still in the process of accepting me for me and saying, I'm not supposed to be here. There's so many times that I was on my way out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am today talking in Hollywood, and to be able to have people sit and listen to my story when I thought I was nothing is a real honor.
I think it's safe to say that the honor is ours, Stan.
It's a two-way street.
Oh. Normally I'd crack a joke because I am dealing with emotions, but I won't.
No, and that's the emotions of being human, of being a man, of letting your feelings out there and let people know that you hurt.
Yeah.
And these aren't tears of sadness.
Mm.
They're tears of happiness.
Yeah.
They're tears of, wow, we are making a difference. Wow, we are together. Like, wow, there's so many good things. And to be able to have you young people sit in here and interview me, like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I thought I was nothing but a falling down drunk. Wow. So after we're done, we're going to go to Hollywood, right?
We're going to Cali right in the van. You're
Okay.
coming with us. We are going to walk, and you're going to have to piggyback, so I apologize.
Fair enough. Yeah, okay. It's a deal.
I think if I could speak for Ryan and I, this has been an absolute pleasure talking to you for this time, and thank you so much for your time. We usually end things off by asking our guest one final question. If you were to describe Dawson Creek with one word, what would it be?
In one word, in transition. There is going to be things that are going to be changing. It's in a transition period right now. And that transition takes on a lot of different meanings of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to think of Dawson, and to be a part of that transition. Yeah.
Very well said. Very well said. Again, thank you for your time. This has been an honor, and thank you for everything you've done for the community.
Sincerely.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And let's cut.
All right, that was a good practice. Let's do it.
Don't even go there.
Thanks for watching the Not Dawson's Creek podcast. Directed by Grady McTavish. Produced by Quinton Tootin and Grady McTavish. Directors of photography, Quinton Tootin and Ryan Leewood. That's me! Art director, Charlie McLean. Sound, Taylor Leewood. Camera operators, Charlie McLean and Quinton Tootin. Special thanks to Nawican Youth Cultural Centre and Stan Fraser. Bye-bye!